of the United States of America. The United States of America was forged in the flames of revolution in the 18th century. Within just 2 centuries, the nation reached the pinnacle of its power, emerging as a global force even as 2 world wars reshaped the balance of power worldwide. Yet, the story of this land runs much deeper than these modern milestones. Its history stretches back millennia, evolving from diverse indigenous cultures, through European exploration and colonization, to the birth of a new nation and its rise on the world stage. Pre-colonial and early exploration. Long before European arrival, North America was inhabited by a mosaic of Native American societies. Archaeological evidence suggests that the first peoples migrated from Asia via a land bridge during the Ice Age. These early hunter-gatherers spread across the continent, giving rise to a multitude of cultures and languages. Among these were the builders of the Mississippi civilization, known for their raised cities and ceremonial mounds, and the southwestern Pueblos, whose multi-story stone villages remain a testament to their ingenuity. In the northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy united several nations under a sophisticated system of representative governance, a model attributed to the legendary peacemaker. European interest in this new world was peaked well before Christopher Columbus. Norse explorer Leif Erikson, for instance, reached what is now Newfoundland during the 11th century, naming the land Vinland. However, it was Columbus's voyages, beginning in 1492 under the auspices of Isabella of Castile, that truly opened the floodgates of exploration, despite his legacy being marred by acts of cruelty against native populations and the catastrophic spread of diseases, which decimated up to 90% of indigenous peoples. Colonization and the birth of a nation. As European powers scrambled to stake their claims, the continent saw the establishment of varied colonies. The Spanish focused on the Caribbean, Florida, and vast swaths of South America, while the French, driven by the fur trade and a mission to convert Native Americans to Catholicism, founded New France. The Dutch established New Netherland along the Hudson River, a prosperous trading outpost later ceded to the English. In 1607, English settlers founded Jamestown in Virginia, laying the groundwork for the 13 colonies. These colonies rapidly developed, with economies based on agriculture, especially tobacco, and an increasing reliance on labor provided by indentured servants and later, enslaved Africans. This economic system would profoundly shape the social and political landscape of the emerging nation. Mounting grievances over taxation without representation and other restrictive policies imposed by Britain eventually ignited a revolutionary spirit. The infamous Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and the defiant Boston Tea Party galvanized the colonists. In 1775, armed conflict erupted at Lexington and Concord, and by July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, authored by Thomas Jefferson. With the support of French and later Spanish allies, the American Revolution culminated in the British surrender at Yorktown in 1781 and the subsequent Treaty of Paris in 1783. Following independence, the new nation set about establishing a government rooted in democratic principles. The U.S. Constitution, drafted in 1787 and ratified by 1788, created a framework for governance, further safeguarded by the Bill of Rights, which enshrined essential liberties for its citizens. Under President George Washington, the United States began its journey as a self-governing republic. Expansion and conflict in the 19th century. Throughout the 19th century, the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that American expansion across the continent was both justified and inevitable, propelled the nation westward. The 1803 Louisiana Purchase, negotiated by President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the country's size, while subsequent explorations by Lewis and Clark mapped and defined these new territories. However, this period was also marked by strife, as the westward push resulted in the forced relocation of Native American tribes, a tragic episode remembered as the Trail of Tears under President Andrew Jackson. Simultaneously, the United States engaged in conflicts with neighboring nations. Mexico's loss in the Mexican-American War, 1846–1848, resulted in significant territorial gains for the U.S., though the expansion further inflamed the contentious debate over slavery. The divisive question of whether new states should permit slavery eventually led to the secession of Southern states and ignited the American Civil War. The Civil War, fought between an industrialized North and an agrarian South, was one of the bloodiest conflicts in American history. Despite early Confederate successes, pivotal battles, most notably Gettysburg, turned the tide. President Abraham Lincoln's issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation paved the way for the eventual abolition of slavery with the ratification of the 13th Amendment. However, the legacy of the conflict would continue to shape the nation's social and political fabric for generations. Emergence as a global power. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, America was emerging as a formidable global power. The Spanish-American War of 1898 signaled its growing international influence, resulting in new territories and a redefined role on the world stage. Policies such as President Theodore Roosevelt, Big Stick diplomacy, and the construction of the Panama Canal further underscored America's expanding reach. World events in the 20th century. Two world wars, the Great Depression, and rapid technological advances further cemented the nation's role as a global leader. The devastation of World War I and the economic hardships of the 1930s gave way to the mobilization of World War II, during which the United States emerged as an indispensable ally in both the European and Pacific theaters. The development of atomic weaponry, culminating in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, marked a turning point in military history and international relations. In the post-war era, the United States and the Soviet Union became the world superpowers, engaged in a protracted Cold War marked by proxy conflicts, an arms race, and the space race, a competition that saw humankind's first steps on the moon with the Apollo 11 mission. Modern America. The struggle for civil rights during the 1950s and 1960s, led by visionaries like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., redefined American society and advanced the cause of equality. More recently, the tragic events of September 11, 2001, have reshaped national security policies and altered the global geopolitical landscape. Today, the United States stands as a leading world power, a nation with the largest military, a dynamic economy driven by innovation, and a continuing commitment to scientific exploration and technological advancement. Yet, as with all great nations, it faces challenges that require ongoing efforts to reconcile its storied past with the demands of the future.